Okay, class. Today is day 8 of 25 of learning Greek and Latin roots. Today we are going to learn the Greek root meter, so let's get started. When we see the word in root meter, we see it more often than we think, especially when we study science and math terms. So starting out, the meaning of the word meter is measure, and the origin of the word is Greek. Meter comes from the Greek word metron, which also means measure. So when we see meter in a word, we can most likely identify that it has something to do with measuring. And what I mean by that is meter is a word on its own, but more often than not, it is paired with a prefix or a suffix. So let's look at some of these examples. The first word, thermometer, right here, we know measures temperature, but when we break that apart, we have thermo and meter. Thermo we know means heat, meter we know means measure. So heat, measure, which we can take as context of measuring temperature. The next one, speedometer, speedometer, speed, measure. So we know it measures speed. For meter, it's pretty simple, measures electricity, water, or distance, which is all related to math and science terms where we see it the most. Metric, a system of measurement. We don't measure with the metric system. I believe most everyone else does, but that is something that you will recognize and see a lot in math and science problems when converting measurements. The last one is diameter, which is the measurement across the middle of a circle. But this one's tricky because in all the other ones, we know speed, meter means speed, measure, thermo, heat, meter, measure. So those are pretty given on what they're measuring, but in diameter, dia does not mean circle. Dia means across or through, and meter again means measure. So this one is hard because dia does not mean circle, but diameter means to measure a circle. Dia, when it means across or through, that's the way that we are measuring a circle. So we have to pay attention to things such as that, how they're using it, when to use it, because that can confuse you unless you know exactly what they're referring to. So when we see words that contain the root meter, we know that something's being measured. We just need to determine what it is. And when it can be hard unless you know what the meaning of the prefix or suffix is. And in some cases, that's easier than others. For example, in the word barometer, which some of you might have heard of barometric pressure. Baro means pressure or weight, so barometer means measure of air pressure. So unless you know what baro means, you probably won't guess that it's going to be the definition of measuring air pressure. Another one is hydrometer. We know hydro means water, but hydrometer is the measurement of liquid density. So unless you know what context it's being used in, you have to be careful of what exactly it's referring to, especially with the tricky prefixes and suffixes such as that. But in some cases, meter can also be used meter, M-E-T-R, which I have labeled up here, which we see in the word geometry. The word geometry not only uses the prefix geo, but is also a branch of math that studies the shapes, sizes, and angles. So it can be used in a different way. We have to pay attention, especially when it's spelled like this. And then here we've got a speedometer, a thermometer, and then this refers to meter, just the measurement. So next time we get together, we'll be going over day 9, so stay tuned.